38% of New Zealand businesses who are still growing. What are they doing differently to the ones who have stalled?
I know business owners who are doing $13 million business, but their net margin is around 2%. If you're not making margins when you're small, you'll not make margins when you're big. If you have not done a transaction in the day, that day you have not done business. We are focused on how busy we are, how stressed we are, how we should be better planning for the future. But all great. But what about today? We'll never focus on the business and solve the business problem. I'll focus on market and what's happening in the market to solve the business problem. The smart business owner would actually sell the product before it's even made. She sold that course and launching in 3 weeks. It's very hard to price it low and then go high. It's much easier to price high and then go low. As a business owner, we focus on the objections that customer would have and we sort that objection, the product sells automatically.
How did she sell the course before she even made the course?
Second is always focus on transactions that you do in your business on a daily basis. And third, which is the most important part, is
Ashish, welcome back to the show.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Good to have you because we were talking just before we hit record about how you've been on the podcast about a year ago, wasn't it?
I think it's been more than a year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think.
Over a year.
Yeah,
okay.
Over a year.
We want to have a conversation this time around about how the 38% of New Zealand businesses who are still growing, what are they doing differently to the ones who have stalled, they're not moving forward? And you have got an immense background in the sense, and we'll get into that in a minute. What I've understood that people don't really want to hear about the mistakes and what's going wrong. They want to know what can they do differently. So that's what's we're going to try and help businesses, maybe the ones who are making $500,000 plus, maybe with staff or no staff. Those are the people who are going to be sitting around and watching till the end to get that insight. But I have prefaced it, but also, why should people pay attention to Ashish and listen to you specifically?
I have experience in working in multinationals as an employee in past. Then I have ran my own businesses. I have also have a very good portfolio in my investments. So I'm also mentoring businessmen, business owners across the world. So I know a little bit about this domain. So happy to share what I have, especially for the business owners and help them in current situations.
So I think the New Zealand economy now sounds very brutal. There's been a lot of headlines about how the economy is a bit brutal and difficult to navigate. A lot of liquidations are happening. I think it's an all-time high, but there's a lot of mistakes are being made, whether they're people making under $1 million to 3 million, or 4 million to 10 million. And one of the things that have popped up in the headline recently have been how a third of retailers feel unsure about if they're going to be able to survive the fuel crises. On Air New Zealand's boss saying there's going to be a $400 million loss, redundancies again due to the fuel prices. So kind of big numbers, pressure, leadership under pressure. There's a lot of fire coming through. But then at some point, the other businesses are saying, we're actually thriving. We're doing really well. Like the beef and lamb sector is doing really well. Manufacturing is doing really well, apparently. What do you see the pattern that businesses who are growing in the last 2 years are different to the ones that are not?
Yeah, I think we can look at two scenarios, the local businesses as well as global businesses. So what's happening now, or has always been the case, when we talk about revenue, we focus on numbers that we are doing in terms of revenue, right? When we talk about losses, we are looking at the net. We are not making any margins, profits. We are making actually loss. So fundamentally, I think we miss this point that business is not only about revenue, it's not about the loss. The main factor that we miss in the business is about what is our pure margin on what we are doing. Often we may look at revenue and we may get disillusioned that, hey, we are doing great. But having revenue is not really our aim. Our main focus should be how much is the margin, what is the profit I'm making on that. Now, if I'm making a loss on that and my revenue is increasing, that's actually a very big problem. Because often the problem, when it's small, it's easy to solve. When the problem becomes big, the revenue grows, the losses grows. So fundamental mistakes that most business owners do is that they focus on revenue, not on margin.
Okay.
And ideally, the right business model is even if your revenue is increasing, your margins are sustainable. If the revenues are decreasing, your margins are still sustainable. And if I take some examples, coffee has always been very popular globally. And but in many countries, the coffee was very popular when it came during the winter time. It was not very popular during summers because it was considered that it is a winter drink in Asia, in many countries. Coffee companies had to have a sustainable business model that they wanted to have the income throughout the cycle. So they came up with the idea of iced coffee, which could be used in summers, right? So the idea that we must focus is sustainable revenue, sustainable income, but mainly focusing on is that revenue converting into profits. And often we miss that. There's a gap. And we focus too much on like, how do I grow my business? How do I get more revenue? Versus how do I increase my margins? How do I increase my profits?
Why is that the most important and not anything else? Why is that?
I think often, as you were mentioning, that many businesses take pride in like, we are a $1 million business. We are a $10 million business. I know business owners who are doing $13 million business, but their net margin is around 2%, which is around roughly in the range of 200,000. Any small change in the economy, the whole business or the profits are gone. I think initially the idea of business is to grow, but then the mistakes that we do initially, which is resulting in losses, only magnifies as your business grows. So when you're small, that's the time to fix it. When you're big, it's too late.
Okay. So the margin is the thing that people need to be thinking about right now. If I am running a business and have stalled, I'm not making any more, I'm not really growing, and I need to look at my margin, what do I need to be thinking about first? What do I need to look at? Yeah.
I think it's a fundamental, like, and the problem is often is in thinking, not in the problem, right?
Yes.
So the way we think about the problem is often the problem. We want to quickly fix it without understanding what is the real problem. Because 90% job should be focused on what is the real problem and what will be the impact if I solve it on my business. Often we have too many problems in the business, and business is a set of problems. We focus on fixing them all. There is a Pareto's principle, 80-20. What are those 20% of the problem which will actually impact 80% of my results? Versus if I solve 80% of the problem, might have only 20% of the result. So when we are looking at the problem in the business, we want to solve those problems which will solve everything else. Rather than focusing on, let's say, let me focus on creating content, let me focus on creating videos, let me focus on creating something online, on my Facebook. It's a lot. But what is that one thing we could do which would solve majority of the problem? In most businesses, it's marketing. It's about branding. If you have the branding right, if you have the marketing right, you don't necessarily need to sell. It's automatically done for you. Often we miss that part. We focus too much on the product. I have a great product. I have a great operations, but we miss on how do we take that message to our customer, and so that the customer actually see that message and says, yeah, I would like to buy.
So how is this related to margin? So when you're trying to solve that margin issue, because the people who are not stalling, the one who are growing, their margin is healthy.
Yeah.
And so the thing that they are doing differently is that they keep that margin in mind. How can we increase that margin and keep it healthy?
Yeah.
And then they're thinking about some stuff. Then they do stuff. So what the thing that they're thinking about is, what is my marketing? Is that the thinking process, or Yeah.
So when you're looking at your margin, as I said, that's the goal that we start the business with, because most business owners would like to make profits or would like to have a good asset built. So business has two dimensions: create profits and create asset, and nothing else. We complicate it often too much, that it's about marketing, it's about sales, it's about margins, and it's about asset creation. Now, when you are actually working in a business yourself and you're focusing on your margin, often the margin comes from your 20% of the customer who actually give you 80% of your profits. So when you focus on those premium customer, now let me take an example of luxury brands like Louis Vuitton or Chanel or some big brands. They are focusing on the premium segment, right? As you focus on this different segment, your margin increases. Now, anybody can make bags. Anybody can make, those things that these companies make. But how do you actually change the brand to an emotional attachment so that you actually are able to address the premium customers? That should be the question. We were talking, I think, last time that, we often focus on a customer, like, let me get the customer, But often that customer might be a difficult customer to manage. He might consume a lot of our resources. He might actually be very demanding. He could be very difficult to manage. We need to be very clear at what type of a customer we would want for our business, and how that customer would be our premium customer, where we not only build long-term relationship, but we also have a very good eye on our margins.
Okay. So can you help distill for someone who's thinking again about the margin, and how do they feel? What is the step-by-step process? If someone needs to leave this episode with a solid plan of, I'm going to rewind this so that I can listen to Ashish and go by step, how would you guide them to do that? And also, I'd love to get into later some of the examples of how you're helping people to continue to have that growth, and specific examples of how what are you implementing in those, but we'll get to that later.
Sure.
But like, I'm listening now, I get, maybe this is what I need to be focusing on to keep growing, not stall. Look at my margin. What is the next step-by-step plan? What do I need to do?
So let's step back a little bit and understand what really truly a business is. It has always been there for thousands of years, and it will always be there for next thousands of years. Business is fundamentally about all the transactions you do in your company. Now, if you are in selling bags, how many bags you sold in a day? If you are selling, food chain, how much food have you transacted that particular day? If you are in a services business, how many cars have you? If you're in an automobile, how many cars have you serviced in a day? Now, business is focused on number of transactions you do in a day. Nothing else. We can complicate it too much. We can say, hey, business is about marketing, business is about sales, business is about operations, it's about finance, it's about leadership, management. Yes, these are all if you look at the wheel, these are the spokes of the wheel. But the core center is your transaction. How many transactions have you done in a day? If you have not done a transaction in the day, that day you have not done business.
A transaction mean service
provided. You're a supplier, somebody has taken it from you, and they have a return.
So a monetary transaction as opposed to like a partnership conversation.
Yes, exactly.
It has to be money-based, monetary based.
It has to be transaction. Like you are giving something and you're getting something in the return on that particular day, that particular week, that particular month. Sometimes we have a future transaction, like a startup. We say, hey, in future, we may have these many number of transactions. We will be able to sell this much. We will be able to receive this much revenue, which is fine. In startups, this is how they work. But we are focused, my personal focus is how many transactions are we doing in a day?
Okay.
If you are not doing that particular day, you are doing, let's say, meetings, you're, long-term planning, but that particular day you have not done any transaction.
Yeah.
Right? Business cannot sustain them. Right? We are focused on how busy we are, how stressed we are, how we should be better planning for the future, but all great. But what about today? How many things have been sold, transacted today? How many things have been exchanged in terms of what I'm selling? And the moment we miss focus on the transaction, we get too distracted, because business, we can complicate it. Because as a human being, we have habit of complicating things which are very simple.
Okay. So how many transactions am I doing in a day? Is the first thought somebody needs to be having?
100%.
And what should they be? How
can I now increase my transactions?
Yeah.
How can I increase margin on each transaction?
Okay.
Full stop.
But for someone who doesn't know how to answer that, or maybe they may be too consumed in their business, especially when you're doing $500,000 to $1 million or even more. Like there's just so much going on. If they take themselves out of that and ask themselves that question, how many transactions can we have in a day and how can we increase? But these are two big questions. How can you filter it down into step by step?
Okay, we can take an example. For example, a business like a podcasting business or media business. Media, for example, if you look at an example of a newspaper, right? More focus is how many newspaper have been sold in a day, how many ads came in the newspaper on the day. These are the two transactions that are done. It's healthy, it's sustainable, business is growing. Now, you did take an example of Air New Zealand, for example. Are the transaction increasing? Maybe it is. Maybe it is still the same, but the oil prices have gone up. So the per transaction revenue the company was making is now not sustainable, because there is a competition in the market who is now challenging that transaction and they are taking the business away. Now, there are two types of losses in the industry. One is the industry loss, like the whole industry is suffering. Like, I can take some example, like if I'm selling a typewriter in today's time, I'll be making losses. If I'm making something like a CPU-based business where I'm selling a CPU or a photocopier, my business might not be in the current trend. So when we are looking at transaction, it actually answers all your questions. You look at set, for example, if it is Air New Zealand, or it is a podcasting business, or it is a newspaper, how many tickets did I sell today? On each ticket item, how much was my margin? Now, we can quickly get distracted and we might say, oh, we have a complex business, we need to compete, we need to open a lot of sales offer, we need to increase our revenue. Fine. But you might end up into losses if you don't solve the problems at an early stages. And suddenly at the end of the year, you're looking at the books and say, hey, we didn't do well this year. But who's accountable now? Because as a business owner, we are also anticipating things which may go wrong or which may be very uncertain. So there has to be a difference between risk and uncertainty. And as a business owner, we can calculate risk, but we can't calculate uncertainty. But for that, you have a lot of other measures like uncertainty. There's provision for insurance. There are other provisions that you take in your business. So it's a very, Very simple thing to focus on. Any company, any business which is not focusing on how many transactions I did in a day, what was my margin, can easily get sidetracked and say, hey, I'm busy in meeting customers, I'm building CRM, I'm building finance zero. You can get sidetracked with all that, and then you lose focus. I'll share a story later on about this. And
sure. So I still need to, if I'm coming to you for some thoughts, I make 3 million and I've lost track of how many transactions we're making. We're not making enough transactions and our profit margin is not good. I need a solid thinking plan. Hey Ashish, I am not making enough transactions in a single day. My business is in, I don't know, let's pick a business, like a service business.
Sure.
Or could be like an online business where people provide education or maybe even productivity education, so that you have sort of an idea of what I talk about. And they do coaching, they do community, they do like they have a curriculum, they have a coaching mechanism,
sure,
but on a group level, and then they also have a community, let's say, but their margin is hurting and they are feeling stalled. And you open the conversation up and you're looking at, okay, how can you increase your margin and how can you increase your number of sales in a day? Maybe you can tell me a list of questions that you will ask and a number of direction that you will need to go to find out what the problem is to solve that.
To start with, I will never focus on the business and solve a business problem.
Okay.
I'll focus on market.
Okay.
And what's happening in the market to solve the business problem.
Why is that?
Now, often many business owners have this, that, hey, I have made this product and people will really like it because this is something that is something people need. But it's in their head. They create their books, they contact the supplier, they build the product, and then they go in the market and suddenly realize people are not paying, people are not buying. The market is not in our head. Market is out there. First thing we must look at in any business is, are you working in the field which is in trend? Now, if the market is going somewhere else, market is driven by AI, market is driven by automation, and I'm still talking about manual working and going towards human interaction and those areas, there's a gap because the trend is changing and I'm not adapting. But and this is often a problem with the business owner. They believe too much in their product. We need to believe in the market. We must address the market rather than focusing on what we have. I might have a lot of things, but then does the market need that?
How do you know if the market is still needing?
You always start with trends. Of course, you study the trends, you speak with people, you look at the trends, where the market going. First question is, what you're doing, is it in trend? The second question is there a lot of revenue, a lot of money in that trend? Like right now in AI, it's a big trend. There's a lot of money in that trend. Fantastic. Do you have knowledge and experience in that segment? Now, if you have these three pillars as your core, you are in the trend, there's a lot of money in that trend, you have knowledge and experience in that trend. Now you can address that market. Now, AI is so big right now and probably 2 or 3 years behind. Anyone who gets in now is probably competing with the big giants. You actually go and dissect that segment and understand, okay, in this trend, which is the trend which is currently more niche? Healthcare, for example. Now, many people need some AI which are 24/7 with them. They cannot call their doctor 24/7. Right? So you look at that niche and you look at like how much is the revenue, how much is the demand, or how much is the business I can make in that, and then how much knowledge and experience I have in that segment. I might suddenly think that, oh, now let me do the AI because everybody's doing it. Yeah, but then have you studied the trend well? Are you competing with Microsoft, Google's? Are you competing with smaller players? Are you basically taking the advantage of the trend and moving forward and creating something which is unique, but also has a market? Because we focus too much on the product, but then there's no market. The smart business owner would actually sell the product before it's even made.
How do you do that?
Let me take some examples. Like one of the person I had mentored, and she has made all the courses, online trainings, and it took her almost like a year to build all that. So, but when she went out and tried to sell it, it didn't sell because the demand for those courses were not out there. So we actually spoke, and I said, okay, how did you decide to do this course? She said, I have expertise in this. I said, yeah, but that's great. You have expertise in this and you have worked one-on-one with people, but how would you decide that this is going to work online? She said, because it worked one-on-one, it should work online as well. Now, this is a different market. One-on-one is a different market. Online is a different market. In one-on-one, you have more like your time that you're consuming. You're giving your time to the person. Whereas in the online, it's a product. You're selling a product. So you need marketing much more than what you need when you are selling one-on-one. So we decided that, okay, what are your expertise? What is currently in trend? And the trend which can actually give a lot of revenue. How can we combine that? So we came up with the idea that, okay, let's make a course in time management for certain professional in a certain niche. And then she has the experience and knowledge in that sector. That is also in trend. And there is a lot of revenue in that segment. We combined those three, and the course was sold before it was even launched.
What were the three segments?
Trends, the revenue in that trend, or the available capital in that trend, and do you have the knowledge and experience in that? So when you combine these three, you have a solid foundation for business.
Quick one. If you're an established business owner who already knows podcast guesting is one of the smartest moves for your business, you want to be on podcasts, but you're too busy. You don't know what to pitch, how to pitch, what to say once you're on the microphone, and you just need some help. I made something for you. It's called 3 Free Podcasts. I will personally send you 3 shows your ideal clients are already listening to, plus exactly how to land a guest spot on each one. Simply go to powerfully.com/Meena, enter your details, a few questions about yourself, and then you will get the email. That is powerfully.com/Meena. Imagine a world where you can no longer trust what you see or hear. A world where a video of your CEO is authorizing a multi-million-dollar transfer that might be completely fabricated. Think about like an email from a colleague that could be completely made up by a machine, but it looks legit and it looks absolutely real. And how do you know what's true and what's fake? This is actually not science. This is not a fiction movie. This is actually happening in real life right now with the challenges in the age of artificial intelligence. So I'm learning all of that now in the Disruptive Technologies course. What does it mean for me? What does it mean for my work, my business? How do I not fall into that trap? And what it means for you and your business as well. And I would like to share more, but maybe you go and check out this course. It's been quite a fascinating insight into this whole world of AI and this week's cyber threats. If you want to know more, there's a link in the description. Let me know if you join, or if you want to have any questions about the course. Happy to answer any questions. But I think you should check it out. It's been an awesome program to do with Academy X. Okay, back to the episode. Hello, thanks for watching this video. Quick note, have you subscribed? Over 90% of people who are watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or on Apple are not subscribed or following. Please do so now. It's so simple. The button will be around the screen somewhere. You either hit subscribe or hit the follow button or leave me a review. It will help me so much, helps me grow as a channel and support my work. So I really appreciate it. Okay, back to the episode. How did she sell the course before she even made the course?
Just marketing that I'm
What
launching.
did she do for marketing?
It's online marketing, the organic as well as Facebook ads.
Okay.
And she said, hey, I'm launching this course in coming.
When you say organic, what do you mean? Do you mean like video content on YouTube? Did she start a podcast?
Yes,
Did she do shorts on Instagram or TikTok?
So it was combination of shorts on Instagram. She created her own page. So first she launched the course and all the people who had done her course started subscribing to her channel, started recommending her. And then she said, hey, I'm launching this course, time management for IT professionals. And then she sold that course and launching in 3 weeks. So people started liking her post and she started giving small nuggets on social media. People started liking her channel. As they started liking her channel, she already had an understanding that this trend, which she thought is a good market, started giving her the results. And then she said, okay, if there is a trend, is there a lot of revenue I can make in this? So if I price my course at this price, what was the number of courses I'll sell? Now, my personal target is always you start high. Often people start low and then try to go high.
With the cost of your program?
It's a cost of the program. Like what is the price that you are giving to your training? It's very hard to price it low and then go high. It's much easier to price high and then go low.
Why is that?
Because psychologically, if you are buying something for $5 today, and if I charge tomorrow $20 for the same thing, would you still buy that?
To a different person, they might just buy it.
But like, let's say you as a person, you got something, this cup for $5 today, and tomorrow when you walk in, it's priced at $20.
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
But if it is $20
Yeah.
and now it's discounted at $5,
Yeah.
which has more chances of you buying?
Yeah, of course, the second round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you always price your product to the price that you would like to charge, but you're okay to give discounts and increase the transactions. As more people watch your product, they give more reviews, it sells more, and then you go back to your original price.
I still don't understand how, in that example, how she was able to market this thing before, like, sell it before she even has a product.
Yeah.
How do you, and especially for someone, I mean, this conversation is very interesting because if someone is already making $1 million plus or 500K plus, they think, I already have a thing that's working and making revenue. Perhaps my margins are not so good. But it's an interesting conversation because they could innovate in what they're providing so that they can sell more. And that conversation is really relevant because the thing that you're selling may not be, you're not maybe having enough transactions. So this is a new thought for you to consider.
Yeah.
Look at your bottom line.
I'm just going back to this example where this person had launched a time management for IT professionals course, but she was building this course and she started created small videos, small shorts, and started advertising that.
Before she has even made any course.
People started liking her post. They started getting some value out of it, because if people start getting value out of our content, there's a trust that they start building.
How long would you, the question is, how long, for question one is social media actually the right format now? Because the attention economy has gone down. It's no longer the attention economy. It's the proof economy. It's the proof economy. You have to, and a credible economy. It's a credible economy now. So a credible economy has gone up. The attention's gone down. So you no longer can do anything viral and will get you lots of views and you can make heaps of money. It's, are you credible and trusted? And so how can she blend in with that market and that trend that's going on right now, plus the trend that she's found herself into that is profitable?
Yeah. So trust and credibility has always and will always be the highest when it comes to selling.
Yeah.
Because you may have a viral video, but that doesn't mean that you will have business.
Yeah.
The people might want to consume it for content or might entertainment. But when we are looking at adding value as a small snippets or small shorts, people start building trust. As they build trust, it depends. Different business have different cycle.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. But in some cases, it's 3 months. Ideally, the best scenario is 6 months. You keep posting, keep adding value. As people consume your content, like if you want someone to buy $1,000 course, they should have minimum consume content of about 5 hours. If they've consumed 5 hours of your content, the trust is already built. They know that this person is trustable. And now that person brings a course, there's a very high chance that this person would be very keen to now engage and buy. So thinking that, the social media is going down, the attention economy is down, this is again the volume game. We are talking more of a premium, which is that 20% of the segment, which will give 80% of my revenue. Because as this segment, premium segment grows, we start focusing on increasing our premium and start offering even more services, which will actually make a big impact in their work, business, or life.
I must admit, I don't understand the last bit about the 80-20 in relation to
Sure, let me explain that here.
Yeah.
Let me explain that. So Pareto's principle is called 80-20 principle. So
in relation to the content that you were talking about just before.
Yeah. So in, let's say, the content that people consume, 80% of the people who are watching your content are just pure consuming content, and they don't have like inclination to buy or go forward. But 20% of the people who are watching the content have very high inclination that I would like to now proceed further. So those 20% of the people who are watching the content would actually give 80% of our revenue. Now, as the customer becomes our client, it's our responsibility to have a journey together as we grow together. Now, if we do one transaction and customer goes away, that's not really a sustainable business. Like, I remember one story of one guy who used to make briefcases. And he used to say, any business that I cannot have a long-term association with my customer is not a business. So when we look at small businesses, the transaction is very like one-on-one. And it's not like a long-term transaction. So if a customer has come to us, we must look at the journey together. How are we going to contribute in each other's business? How can we collaborate? So moving from transaction to collaboration makes it as a very sustainable long-term business. Mm-hmm. So when the person who's watching is just watching for knowledge, he's watching for entertainment, out of that segment, there's a 20% segment which is going to give us 80% of our revenue. Out of that 80%, again, the 20% is the one who's actually going to go forward, take more action. Then out of that 80% on the third level, you still have those 20%. So as you focus more on increasing your transaction, you focus also on how do I create this long term. So the transactions keep happening rather than me creating always a new customer, because customer acquisition cost which is every time you acquire a customer is quite high. But once you have acquired the customer, how long have they stayed with you? So they have actually done more transaction without you spending money to acquire them, increases your margin.
How do you keep them? How do you keep a client with you over and over and over? Sticking to that same example of the online business, how do you keep them? I think that is the thing that will make margin. Is that will that increase the margin?
Yes.
Because what actually will increase the margin, like more profit? It's
the trust the factor. As you basically have a long-term relationship, your trust grows. As your trust grows, so for example, we are using MacBook, right? There are many other brands available in the market, but Apple actually is controlling only 10% of the market. But they are the highest premium brand in the market, which means that every transaction Apple does, they actually make a good profit on every transaction they do. The customer has a long-term relationship. They use iPhone, they are associated with Apple. Then they use iCloud, they are associated with Apple. If they use AirPods, Apple Watch, they are now connected with Apple. So Apple is not only selling phones, Apple is also making margins on the apps that we download. So this is now a long-term relationship with the client, right? So they've sold the product once. Now the client is now continuously keeps buying from Apple, and this is now converting a lot of transactions. The same model has been applied for centuries in all businesses. You can think of cars business. When you buy a car, you take it for service, you buy maintenance parts, the same cycle. All big businesses have long-term association with their customers.
Because I always think, how do you keep a customer on hand? And what if it's, the coaching community? What if people, I've been part of business programs that we both know, and I signed up for a year and then I left.
Yeah.
So they maybe spent money to try and acquire me, and I invested with them for 12 months and then I left.
Yeah.
But am I going to go back? Potentially, maybe. But in that circumstance, I think this is kind of like the business that I was alluding to, like this business model that I was alluding to. What do they do to keep, what should have they done to have kept me in the loop, in their orbit, where I'm still investing money and getting value, but not necessarily the coaching part, because I don't need the coaching part anymore. I don't want the community anymore, kind of thing.
So in this model, was that a collaborative business model where you were growing as they were growing, or was it they were growing and you were not growing? That's a fundamental question you need to answer first. I don't
know, and I don't understand the collaborative model.
Yeah. So often, like in let's say coaching business that you were associated, or trainings that you were attending, you were investing money. Now, as you were investing money, how much your business was becoming profitable as you were investing money in that. And business, we often get disillusioned that, okay, I need to learn. Yes, great. We need to learn. But whatever I'm investing, what is the impact on my business and increasing my profits or creating an asset? Is that happening? Now, you left it probably because these two things were not happening. Your profits were not increasing. Your transactions might have not increased. You were probably not creating an asset. So you decided it's too expensive. Mm. So, but there are people who continue probably, right? So they got probably more profits, more transactions out of it, more assets creation. Again, as I said, 80-20. So they also know when they're selling such programs that they might send, clients, 20% actually clients would actually continue.
Right.
Right.
So and perhaps like I was part of the, I was the not the 20% who.
Could be. You were probably more inclined towards something else, which could have made more impact. And but then there would be also like skies. Probably in many businesses there are cycles, like they would have this, and then there'll be another golden pack, platinum pack, and so on. They probably would have the same, which actually increases the long-term association with the client. And as the client grows, their business grows, and the business grows, the client grows.
Okay. So let's get into the... So if we... Actually, before we get into the other bit, if you had to summarize what we just discussed so that whoever's thinking and, hopefully they can apply that at home tomorrow, tonight, right now, what would be the summary of I am not growing or I am stalling, especially the 38% of New Zealand businesses are... Sorry, 38% of New Zealand businesses are still growing, but the other whatever percentage is stalling, 62. And so what would be the summary?
So if I'm not growing, is the market growing? If the market is growing and I'm not growing, then something is not right with me. I'm not doing something right. Either it's my product, it's my messaging, or my operations. If the market is not growing and I'm growing, that's fantastic, but not sustainable. Very soon, the business will catch up with the market. If the market is growing and there's a lot of revenue in that market, but my business is not growing as the revenue is increasing in that market, something is not right. I need to fix something in my business. So getting more understanding of the market becomes my focus, not too much focused on how do I get better with my product operations, product operations. That's one side of it. But the biggest side is market. Where are people moving? How are people getting more influenced? We see, if I may add like a point or two, we watch advertisement for probably 100 years. It was a newspaper, then it came in media, and that's as big, right? You can sell an advertisement from toothpaste to big car or to travel and so on. But then every advertisement, they actually do a lot of market research. Who's the right audience? What is the right trend? What is the revenue in that market? Now let me make a product for that segment. It's not like I've made a product which is fantastic, but now let me go and sell it. No, it's not like that. And many times you see, hey, coming soon. In the advertisement world, you might have this product coming soon, right? Just create that curiosity in people. You're creating that market. You start thinking about market all the time. As you start thinking about market all the time, you're more out there in the market to understand, get the vibe of it. And then you produce something which actually acknowledges the real demand. Rather than, I have something, now let me go and sell it. Yeah, maybe there's no demand for that.
Right. Okay. That's really helpful. Thank you for that little summary. In the businesses that you're helping at the moment, or the coaching or mentoring rather, what is a trend that you see that people are paying attention to? Market trend.
I think, of course, the AI is the big segment, which is number one. Second segment, which I'm seeing a lot of focus coming on, is energy. Because of recent events that happened, a lot of focus is now shifting to other ways of energy. And the third business, which is now in high trend, is defense. So these are like high trend businesses.
What's defense?
Defense, like, the equipments which are designed for protecting your country, technology, the AI that's being used in that segment. So all that is also part of it. So if we take these three sides, is it in trend? The AI is in trend. Is energy is in trend? Are the defense in trend? Answer is absolutely yes. Then is there a lot of revenue? Is there a lot of capital in that segment? With AI, with energy, and with defense, answer is absolutely 100% yes. But do I have experience and knowledge of that market? That's a question we must ask.
For businesses who are maybe like in the retail sector or in beef and lamb farm, and they are looking to increase their margin, and they understand that their sector is growing, they're doing well, and they also look at AI. So I suppose it's wanting to combine your market that you're in already and you've invested so much money. I mean, I'm just using examples. What other examples could be? Yeah, back to maybe the coaching community, online businesses, people making money on online businesses. They have a market. They have maybe the productivity market, like you were talking about, time management market. And then they're like, oh my gosh, that market now is not as hot as the AI market.
Yeah.
So what is everyone just sort of now combining those two things and trying to create an AI product to help build value in their existing market that is not as fast, not as growing super fast.
Yeah.
Like my market is podcasting, media, communication. I don't know if it's necessarily a hot as market right now. I don't know, I probably need to do a bit more research, but I know that the AI market is up and going. Maybe, like again, time management, productivity. I don't know. Yeah, so if the question is, if you're in a market that is not growing, there's still demand, but it's not growing. But then there's like the AI market. How would do you just leave everything and starting like an AI business? That's like the biggest question. Like, what do I do?
Yeah, I think that's a great question actually, because often this is called shiny object syndrome, where we see that, hey, that market is now getting better. Let me move there. And then there is another one. Let me try there.
Just jump. Yeah.
Now, if you have done the research, if you have understood the trends, if you have understood how much revenue is in that trend, have you worked on your experience, it's always better to make one model work. So now trend I'm talking about, for example, if you look at Coca-Cola, they've been around 100 years plus. What is a product? What's the product? This is the rocket science.
Sugar and water.
Sugar and water, right?
And caffeine.
Yeah. So have they changed their business model? Few times. They actually brought some chips. I think it is Pepsi who also brought some chips. They've got now energy drink from Coke. They have got some other drinks as well, which is, looking at the trend, they actually changed some of their product lines. But the main model is still sustainable. So AI is still there, but Coke is still there. Pepsi is still there, right? Toyota is still there, right? So these companies have figured the trend, which is a long-term trend, right? Now, if you are in the business, there is a short-term trend and the long-term trend. Mm-hmm. You start studying that. You start studying your industry. You start looking at, okay, where is this industry going? And then you read a lot about it. You understand, then you get ideas. You speak with people. You go to the events. You start getting an idea about where this industry is going. What's in the future? And then you start investing in your own knowledge and experience, or hire people who have the skills and experience. And then you go towards that trend in a small way first. Testing the market, testing the water. How much margin would I make on each transaction? How long I'll be associated with the customer? So for example, if you are an IT services company, you are with the customer for a long cycle. So once the customer comes in, you are there for like few years at least. If you are if you're like a GP, when the patient comes to a GP, they are in for a long time. They generally stay, like many GPs, they are full, like you can't even, go and register yourself. So that's a real business model. But there are trends which are always there. There are trends which are coming in. But then my personal take is always to the trend which are always there, growing, focus on them and use technology to support that, rather than chasing the new trends which are coming in. Because by the time it comes and becomes a trend which is visible, it's already well taken.
Because some of the businesses and business models and markets, they are designed that they stick with the customer forever, like New World. is a supermarket business model with a lot of what's the word? Risk, because there's a lot of products that can go off, but people need to shop all the time. IT is such a smart model because people need support all the time. Cybersecurity, maybe. It is the question of when you are stalling in the business and you want to be as oversubscribed as an IT company or as New World and Pack and Save supermarkets, that you want to be in demand the whole time. That is the trick, I think.
If I want to be in demand versus what is the demand, it changes the question significantly.
Go into that.
Yeah, let's go into that. I want to be in demand means I'm a product, which is my product or my company. I want to be in demand. I want to go out there and sell it. But what is in the demand? What is people are seeking right now? What are they looking for, which they are not finding it easily? What are their current challenges? What are their needs? What are their wants? Now, when we have conversation, people might, if I have a product and I'll say, hey, if I'm launching this product, would you be interested in buying? People are very polite and they might say, yeah, of course, yeah, when's it launched? But if you change that question and say, hey, it's in my car, would you buy it now? Suddenly you will see that, they may sort of start asking you different questions or might have excuses. If the product is such a good in trend that they wouldn't want to buy it now, and I have actually got such a clarity of their thinking process, that's what they are thinking. How can I actually have my content complementing to their thinking? Because they have certain questions in their head and we are actually answering those questions. They actually get more interested in our product. Fundamentally, as a business owner, we focus on the objections that customer would have for our product, and we sort that objection, the product sells automatically. We don't sell product, we address objections.
So what I gather is short-term trend versus long-term. You really want to stick to long-term.
Yes.
If you are in a market already that is not growing so fast, but it is still a relatively good market to stay in, you don't need to be jumping to different market, is what you're saying. You need to stay in your market, but look at, I don't know, look at how you can improve.
Yeah, so if I step back a little bit, so you generally have two things. You have a product and there's a market that you understand. You can take an example, it could be media business. You have a media product and that you have a market that you address. Now, sometimes that market might start shrinking. So you start looking for other markets. For example, we were taking example of airlines industry. So maybe the online sales is dropping, but then maybe there is another market which is opening up, which is local tourism. Or maybe there's some other market opening up, which is local people traveling to the nearby countries. Right? So you may have one product addressing one market, but once that market starts shrinking, we must look at the other avenues as which other markets can I also target with my product.
Right. Okay.
And then you need to be flexible, because then when you go in the new market, again, you start with the same thing. What is the trend in this market? What is the revenue in that market? What is my experience and skill in that market? And then you go in that market. So, for example, if I take again Apple example, Apple was not into torch business, but now they are. Apple was not in GPS business, but now they are.
Oh, I see. So the market is not the who you're helping, it's the what you're selling? That's what I wanted to understand.
So what you are selling is your product. Who you are selling is your market.
But you were saying the GPS market.
So GPS, Apple was designed as a phone, right? They came up as a phone company, which was also doing browsing on the internet. But there used to be GPS devices that we used to put in our car, which used to be like GPS that we would enter, right? But now Apple got into that market, and now you don't need GPS. You just have Apple phone and it takes care of that. We used to have Torch, that's also gone. We used to have, in old days, like Walkmans and all, the music player.
Yeah, so Apple started with the phone. That's a market. It's a market for a certain people who want a phone.
Correct.
Then explain to me their thinking when they went into the smartwatch.
Yes. So Apple had a product. Now they know the market, which is the phone market. It was working very well. Now they realize that, hey, this market, now we have reached the revenue where this is now sustainable. It's not growing enough. What can we do now? We can address the watch markets. Okay, so what is the revenue in the watch markets? Okay, it's X is the revenue in the watch market. Is it in trend? Okay, it's in trend. Do we have experience in that segment yet? Right. So then initially when they launch, over the years their product got better because they gained experience. Initially the product wasn't very good. Even the iPhone when it was launched, it wasn't that good. Even iPod when it was launched, it was not good. Then later on they realized that, hey, we also would like to make AirPods. We would like to challenge the markets in the airport, but we don't make AirPods. So they acquired a company called Beats. They had the experience. The AirPods were in the trend. There were a lot of revenue to be made. Apple said, okay, instead of gaining that experience, let's buy this company. So when companies want to eliminate that part of knowledge and experience, they acquire companies. That's what Apple did. And then now Apple is the richest company in the world because they kept going to new markets. And then same way, I think Android did the same with other technology, but Apple is biggest.
I think we've touched on quite a number of key areas, and it would be really good to stop here and let us mull over what you've just talked about and how we ended up going from low margins, stalling to transactions and marketing, and how do you sell a product before you even made it? How do you find the right market for it? Where's the money in that market? And it's a great way to be able to think about the overall picture, because it's most often we just focus on the product itself and what can I help the world, and if I'm already helping the world in a good way, maybe there's a sense of stalling. Maybe the market that we're in is not so good anymore and it needs to be moved across. So any final thoughts for you, Ashish, in terms of someone who's thinking, yeah, this is good. How can I apply it to my life?
I think 3 points.
Yeah.
One is, if something is not working in my business, I am always for challenging my own thinking of how I'm looking at things in my business. Am I too inward focused or outward focused? Because if I'm outward focused, I can fix a lot inward. If I'm too inward focused and I don't know what's happening out there, it's not going to solve problems. Second is always focus on transactions that you do in your business on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. That's what you report in your financials. That's what you are. That's what is the most important part in your business. If you're not making margins when you're small, you'll not make margins when you're big. And third, which is the most important part, is what is the current trend? What is the revenue in that current trend? If I don't have the experience, can I partner with someone who has? Now, any business which is doing well is satisfying these 3 things. Any business which is not, obviously is missing these 3 things.
Fabulous food for thought. Thank you so much, Ashish, for coming on the podcast. How can people reach out to you and want to learn more about what you do?
I would share my details, and that you can put it in the description.
Yeah.
Happy to have a chat if anyone is interested.
Would you like for people to go to LinkedIn, or do you have a special website?
Yeah, they can go on my LinkedIn and I'll send my email
have a
address.
link. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Good to have you back on the pod, and maybe until next time.
Thank you.